Hi, David. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Good evening, guys. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve. I am going to share a testimony, not particularly the testimony of my salvation story, but a testimony about God showing me that He was very, very real when I needed to know that. And but in order for me to get there, I'm going to have to give you the nutshell version of my salvation story, and then a few things that I need to make sure that you understand before I get into the story. So I was born in San Francisco back in the end of the free love era. I grew up in the 70s and early 80s. I came from an unchurched home. My mom was Lutheran, my dad was Mormon. Neither one of them practiced any kind of religion. And like most people, I had a few rough things happen to me as a kid, and then I ended up falling in with the wrong crowd. By the time I was into my early 20s, I was basically a criminal, and my word was worthless. I was a liar. I was a cheater. I would steal anything that I thought I could get away with. I was definitely not an upright citizen. And something happened when I turned about age 22. A little after I turned to age 22, I started to feel guilty for the things that I had done, for the things that I was doing. I started to feel ashamed of the fact that my word was worthless, and that it was almost like it was difficult for me to tell the truth. And so things started to kind of shift in me, and I didn't understand what that was at the time. Looking back on it now, I think that's when the Holy Spirit really started working in my life. And I had heard about this rescue swimmer program in the Coast Guard, and I thought, I think I want to do that. And, I made the decision, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to be. And it's kind of funny because I had probably said that, 100 other times about something else, but somehow this one stuck, and I actually did become a rescue swimmer. I was in the Coast Guard. I was stationed in Kodiak, Alaska first, and then I got transferred down to Astoria, Oregon. And in Astoria, Oregon, it was the first time that I ever heard the gospel from beginning to end. This guy shared his testimony with me, and it just scared when he told me his testimony, I was terrified. And in a nutshell, what his testimony was he was a Army Ranger. He was a drinking, fighting, hard-charging womanizer, and he went from that literally overnight to standing on a street corner wearing a suit, passing out tracts, preaching the good news to people, literally overnight. When he told me this, I was like, I don't want any of that. No way. That's not for me. And but over time, he'd taken me right down the Romans road, and over time, things started to click and things started to make sense. And I finally came to the point where I realized that God is real, and He created everything. He created me. Jesus was His Son. He came here and He died on a cross to save people like me. And I was afraid. I knew I needed to accept Jesus and ask Him to be the Lord of my life, but I was afraid that, what's He going to make me do? What's going to happen? Am I going to end up, who knows what's going to happen? But in spite of that, I got down on my knees and I prayed. And I said, Lord God, please forgive me. Please forgive me. And Jesus, I am so sorry that you had to die on the cross for what I did. And, I want you to be Lord of my life. And so, I was thinking that, oh, well, now that I did that, I'm good, right? I believe God's word. I believe I'm saved, but there was no lightning bolt moment. There was no big change in my life. I was like, okay, did I do it right? Maybe I didn't do it right. So I prayed the prayer again, asking God to forgive me. And I was like, gosh, and I talked to God about it and trying to figure out, okay, well, I know God's real, right? And I know that I'm saved. And so anyway, that's where I was. A couple things that I need you to understand before we get into the real story is that where the Columbia River comes out into the Pacific Ocean, it's called the Columbia River Bar. It's created by the ocean or the river current going into the ocean. It is widely accepted that it is the most treacherous bar on the planet. The area there is called the Graveyard of the Pacific. There's over 2,000 documented shipwrecks in that area. And whenever a commercial ship needs to go in or out of that river, they have to take on a what they call a bar pilot. It's somebody who has been specifically trained for being able to navigate across the bar. So that's the first thing that I need you to know is that this place is pretty treacherous and you have to have a special person to be able to go across it. Next thing I want to let you know is that, by this time in my career, I've realized a few things about search and rescue. And one of those things is that successful search and rescue missions regarding somebody who's fallen overboard or a ship or a boat, not a ship, but a boat that has sunk, are very, very rare. The ocean is so vast, and a person is so small in that ocean. And then think about it, when you're in the water and there's a helicopter flying around looking for you, the only thing sticking out of the water is your head. So trying to find somebody, even in good weather, is really difficult. I've been out where somebody fell off a boat. The boat went on for a few minutes, didn't realize that the person fell overboard. They turn around, they go back trying to find them. They call us, we fly out there, search for hours and hours and hours on end. Never find them. There's times when go out in the dark and stormy, and you're flying along and you're looking for something, a boat that was sinking and it's gone, you can't find it, and somebody says, oh, there's something off to the side. Pilot marks the position, we fly a pattern, come back around, can't find anything. Just the ocean just sucks things down really fast. Let's see here. The last thing that I need you to understand is swimming fully clothed. I'm sure some of you have tried doing that before, tried jumping in the water and swimming with your clothes on. It's tough. It's really tough. And as a rescue swimmer, we had to administer the annual survival training for all of the pilots. And everybody had to swim. Part of the test was swim 100 yards fully in your full gear. Boots, flight suit, vest, helmet, gloves, the whole bit. And most of the guys, they would give as good of a push off of the side of the pool as they could. And they were lucky to get 10 feet before forward momentum stopped, because none of this stuff is hydrodynamic, and you just don't go very far. So now on to the story. So This happened in February of '94. The Columbia River bar pilots had just gotten new float coats. A float coat is a coat that acts kind of as a life preserver. It's got neoprene inside of it to help keep you warm. It's made for bad weather. So they get these new float coats, and the representative or the company, the manufacturer, sent a rep out to teach them, to give them a safety briefing on all the safety features of this new coat. And the one thing that the guy stressed over and over and over was, make sure you buckle your beaver tail before you fall in the water. Beaver tail is this strap that comes underneath it's attached to the back of the coat, and it hangs down. You pull it up, and it covers up your very important parts, and then it buckles into the front of the coat. Does a couple things. First, it helps keep your important parts warm. Second, if you fall in the water and that's not done, the coat wants to ride up. The coat wants to ride right up. I mean, it'll go right over your head if you let it, and then it's not going to do you any good. So now they've got their new coats. They got the safety briefing. Here comes Mike, the pilot, the bar pilot. He has to go out, and he's going to sail a ship across the bar this particular night. And he grabs his new coat, but he didn't transfer all of his survival gear from his old coat to his new coat. He just grabbed his new coat, threw it on, goes out, gets on the ship, safely passes through the bar, and he's standing on the deck of the ship waiting for the pilot boat to come up, and it's got a ladder that comes up, and he's trying to get on the ladder. Thing is that this particular night, it was really bad weather, 60, 70 knot winds. The normal sea swell was coming in at 18 feet, and then there was a storm swell that was coming in at a slight angle to that normal swell, and that storm swell was 26 to 28 feet. So I remember that Mike told me that if the weather had been that bad when he got on the ship, he wouldn't have bothered trying to sail it out. So anyway, he's up there. He's trying to time it so that he can get onto this ladder, and because of the two different swells coming in at two different angles, it was really unpredictable. And he sees that the ladder is going to hit this guy, this other crewman, so he rushes over, bumps the guy so that he won't fall in, and Mike ends up falling in. Falls 20 feet down to the water in between the pilot boat and the ship. So, me and the rest of the duty crew are back at the air station playing cards. I had the best hand I'd had all night. Best hand I'd had all night. The alarm goes off. Man overboard, 7 miles outside the Columbia River bar. So we all jump up, start to head off to the helicopter, and as I was walking, I was like, I got to stop. And I stopped, and I prayed. I said, Lord, help this guy, save this guy. Whatever the case may be, whether it's by us or by somebody else, I don't care who, just save this guy. Lord, I lift him up to you, and I just pray that you would save him. And then I took off, went and got to the helicopter, started getting geared up to go. So meanwhile, Mike, he falls into the water. He falls into the water. He goes down, down, down. He's bouncing off the side of the ship as it's going by. And then he realizes that he hears this whoomp, 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 whoomp. And he thinks, that's the propeller of the ship, and it is coming right for me. So he gets his feet up, pulls his feet up, gets him onto the side of the ship, and gives a shove as hard as he can. And he's still underwater. He hasn't had a breath yet since he is scrambling to try and get away from the propeller and get to the get to air. He comes up, and he is about 15 to 20 yards beyond the pilot boat. And the pilot boat was 10 to 15 yards away from the ship. So he went 30 yards on one push off the boat, and a bunch of frantic scrambling in full gear. That just doesn't happen. You can't swim. Trying to swim with boots on is like, you might as well have just sticks on the end of your feet. That's the first place that God showed up that night. God moved him out of the way without a question. So we get in the air. We're flying. There's a huge bridge that goes between Astoria, Oregon, and Washington across there. So we fly out over the river because it's the safest way for us to get out to the ocean. No obstacles other than this bridge, and we know how high the bridge is, so we just need to get our altitude right, and we can fly right down the middle of the river, and we'll go over the bar and get to where we need to be. But we're flying along, and all of us are wearing night vision goggles, and we can't see anything. Normally in bad weather, you can see a light here, a light there, something. We can't see anything. It's pouring rain. It's the darkness is complete. The only thing that we can see is the inside of the helicopter. We're being buffeted around so much, I felt like I was in a closet in the middle of an earthquake. And rescue swimmers during flight, unless we're in an active search zone, we have like no in-flight duties. So I can't see anything. I thought, you know what? I'm going to pray. So I just sat there and prayed. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for him and I prayed for us and I, prayed that somebody would pick him up, that he would somehow get found. And so then Mike is there in the water. He comes up. He's on the other side of the pilot boat. He can see the people on the pilot boat all looking over the other side because that's where he fell. They're all looking over, looking for him. And he's 15, 20 yards behind him, screaming, yelling, waving, splashing, doing anything he can to get their attention. They don't look. They don't see him. And he sits there and watches as the ship and the pilot boat sail away. And he's like, oh, I got to get my strobe turned on. Oh no, my strobe isn't here. He didn't take his stuff from his old coat and put it in the new one. And then all of a sudden, bing, comes to his mind. Buckle the beaver tail before you fall in the water. And he didn't buckle his beaver tail. And he's like, oh no. He reaches his hand down between his legs, and the beaver tail floated into his hand. Floated into his hand. I don't know what planet where things that float go down is, but not this one. That's where God showed up again. God showed up, put that beaver tail in his hand. He buckled the beaver tail, and he thought, okay, what do I have? How am I going to save myself? What am I going to do? He starts going through his pocket, seeing what he's got. In his shirt pocket, he had a little tiny pen light. And, like the doctors use to look at you, check your pupils, that's what he had. He's like, well, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But he gets to the point, he's like, I'm not going to see tomorrow. There's no way. The boat's gone. I'm out here in the middle of a storm. There's no way. I'm not going to make this. And he starts thinking about his kids and his wife, and he prays and he says, God, I know that I'm done, but please be with my kids, be with my wife, help them, Lord, please help them. And all of a sudden, he gets this really warm feeling inside. And he's like, this is really weird. What is going on? And I don't know how many of you know about bioluminescence in the water. It usually turns on when something stirs it up. So Mike is sitting there in the water, and all of a sudden, all this bioluminescence starts lighting up around him, completely surrounds him. He's looking at it like, what in the world is going on here? He didn't understand it. I'm pretty sure it was God. I mean, I can't say for sure that was God, but I'm pretty sure it was God. So we finally get out to the area. We see the ship and the pilot boat, and they're over there, and they gave us the coordinates for where the guy fell in the water. We said, okay, we're going to start there. They punch in the coordinates to where we're going. We fly over there, and we got our night vision goggles on. We're looking all over the place, and we get about half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile away from where he fell into the water. And all of a sudden, there's this little tiny light that we see out there, this little tiny light. It was his pen light. And he's about 75 to 100 yards off to our side, off to the right side. The flight mechanic, he has a signal flare or a marker flare in his hand, ready to go. He takes that flare and he grips it like a baseball, or like a baseball bat, grips it like a baseball bat, and whips it out towards the guy. I mean, it just, well, we're going 50 knots. And he throws this thing out, and the guy's way over there, and I'm thinking, well, that's going to be pretty useless. And I'm like scared. I'm thinking, okay, I've done this so many times where we turn around and come back and can't find what we're looking for. I'm thinking, Lord, please help us. We fly around, we come back. We can see that the flare is lit, and we're not close enough yet to see where the guy is, but we're looking, all over the place. And we, slow down and come into a hover, and the light is 30 feet away from the guy. 30 feet. I mean, we're talking, 75 yards at least. And he just gave it a fling, while we're going 50 miles an hour. No, that's God. No question about it. That's God. So we get there. They lower me down into the water. I swim over to the guy. I said, what are you doing out here? He said, I'm waiting for you. Okay. So I have a strap that I getting him wrapped around in the strap and everything, and I'm trying to keep us above the water, but it feels like I'm thinking, what does this guy have? Bricks in his pockets? What's going on here? And I'm just kicking my butt off trying to keep us from going under the water. Well, I didn't realize how big the seas were and how fast they were coming in. And so when this 25, 28-foot wall of water comes at you, as you're riding up it, it was coming fast enough that it was wanting to put us underwater because we couldn't rise fast enough to be able to do it. So it was like, okay, I didn't even realize it at the time until after the fact that, oh, that's what happened. But so I turn around and look to give this ready for pickup signal, and the helicopter looks like it is just up and down and up and down and all over the place. And I'm like, what is going on? Are they crashing or something? I don't get this. And it was me that was going 25 feet up, 25 feet down, 25 feet up, 25 feet down. Every 10 seconds or so, I was going up and down. Wasn't so much that they were all over the place. So they finally get the ready for signal, pickup signal, and they come in and pick us up. I get Mike all stripped down, put him into a thermal recovery unit, and we fly back to the base, get him transferred to a ambulance. He is beside himself with gratitude. I mean, he can't thank us enough for coming out and saving him. And we close the door on the ambulance and they drive away. So we go back to, I rinse off all my gear, get it all ready again, just in case the alarm goes off again. We inspect the helicopter, refuel it, all that stuff. And while we're doing that, I realize we were only gone from the time that we took off to the time that we got back on the ground, 34 minutes. 34 minutes. And I was just absolutely in awe. I was just thinking, first of all, finding the guy on the first pass, that never happens. The flare going where it was supposed to, unbelievable. And we got out, flew off into the storm, came back, landed, 34 minutes. And I was just blown away. I was like, God, you are awesome. You are incredible. And so like a week later, Mike comes to the base. He wants to meet the guys who came out to rescue him. And my wife at the time and the co-pilot's wife were both pregnant. And when he found out that we came out to rescue him with pregnant wives at home, he was almost in tears. He was just about in tears. He was like, I can't believe that you guys would risk your lives to come out and save me when you had so much to lose. It's like, well, that's what we do, And then he told us about his, he told us about the bouncing on the side of the ship, the propellers, the push off the boat, and the warm feeling that he got, and the bioluminescence. And I was like, when he told me that, I told him, I said, well, I was praying for you. And he said, well, I was praying too. I said, well, I'm sure you were, but I did pray for you. And it was like that was the moment where God said, see, I am real. I am here. And I care about your life. And so all of those thoughts about, did I say it right? Did I do it right? I mean, there is a God, right? All of that stuff was gone. Deuteronomy 31:8 says, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you nor abandon you. Now, Moses was speaking those words to Joshua before he went into the promised land. And while my story isn't as epic as that one, there's no question that night the Lord absolutely went before us, and he did not fail us or abandon us. And I walked away from that a different person, certain of God, certain of God's power, certain of God's love. And I am forever changed by it. Thank you.